Hello everyone, welcome. Today we'll take a long, careful walk through country music, what it is, where it came from, how it grew into a full-blown industry, and why it still matters so deeply to listeners. There will be 4 parts. Part 1, how important is country music in the U.S. music industry? Let's start with the pragmatic question, how big is country music in the U.S.? Country is not just a musical style, it is one of the pillars of the U.S. music business. For a century, it has supported major recording centers, vast touring economies, radio formats, specialty TV channels, publishing houses, and a tightly knit live music circuit anchored in Nashville. Even as global streaming and new pop styles shift the marketplace, country remains a consistently high-performing segment, driving huge concert revenues, sustaining dedicated radio formats across small towns and big cities alike, and regularly producing multi-platinum record sellers. Recent industry reports from organizations that track recorded music revenues, streaming growth, and market structure show country among the genres that fuel U.S. listening growth and touring income. Its artists are often among the top-grossing touring acts, and the genre commands a dedicated, loyal commercial infrastructure. A key reason country's business footprint is large is that it is vertically integrated. Songwriters, publishers, session musicians, producers, and radio promoters are concentrated in a few hubs, which reduces friction in producing, promoting, and touring records. Institutions like the Grand Ole Opry and Music Row have created pipelines, songs, performers, and careers that feed into national radio and television, making country an engine for jobs and economic activity beyond just records. Tourism, merchandising, festivals, and local economies connected to touring. The Opry in particular has been a central showcase and institution for country since its beginnings in the 1920s, and its continuing cultural and economic pull helps explain why the genre is an industry unto itself. So, country's importance is cultural and economic. It supports a major slice of the music workforce and a distinct way that music is discovered, marketed, and monetized in the U.S. Part 2, what exactly is country music? Country music is recognizable in a handful of broad musical and cultural features. These are not immutable rules, the genre stretches and changes, but they sketch the contours. Sound and vocal style. Narrative singing and a twang. Country vocal delivery often emphasizes clear enunciation of story-focused lyrics with a nasal or twangy coloration at times. Ornamentation like slides, yodeling, and melismatic flourishes appear in many regional styles. The singer's role is often an actor telling a story, not merely an instrument for catchy phrases. Simple, strong melodies. Many country songs lean on straightforward major key melodies and diatonic chord progressions. The focus is on memorability and sing-alongability rather than harmonic complexity. Vocal phrasing that favors story and emotional honesty over elaborate virtuosity. The point is to make the listener feel the scene or character. Instrumentation and sonic palette. Country's traditional instrumental ensemble draws from strings and portable, acoustic instruments. Acoustic guitar, fiddle, banjo, pedal steel and dobro. Upright bass and later electric bass and drums as amplification became normal. The Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum outlines these instruments as central to the genre's sound and how they evolved through the 20th century. Lyrical subject matter and themes. The country is built on stories. Typical themes include everyday life, love and heartbreak, travel and restlessness, loss and hardship, faith and community, celebration and drinking songs. This focus on narrative means songs often read like short stories, characters, arcs, and plain-spoken detail. Who sings country? Historically, the genre was dominated in the U.S. by white performers from the rural South and Appalachia because the early commercial apparatus and radio networks marketed hillbilly and related sounds to white audiences. The performers who became the face of commercial country in the 20th century were often the ones the recording industry chose to promote, but the musical DNA is multi-ethnic and regional. Forms and substyles. Old-time folk string band, pre-commercial traditions, dance tunes, community music. Bluegrass, fast tempos, virtuosic picking, high harmony. Honky-tonk, piano, steel, barroom themes. Nashville sound country pop, slick production, strings, crossover appeal. Outlaw country, rowdier, anti-establishment. contemporary country, stadium country, pop, rock, and even hip-hop influences, stadium-sized production. This sonic and cultural mix makes the genre both familiar and flexible. A listener can easily identify a country voice, but the genre can incorporate new sounds and ideas while keeping its identity anchored in story and certain timbres. Part 3. How did country music originate? This is the deep dive you asked for. Country is not the product of a single moment, but of converging musical streams across centuries. I'll trace the key influences, then show how recording technology, radio, and business models turned regional music into a national genre. Deep roots, migration, instruments, and repertories. Country music's roots run across several streams. Anglo-Celtic folk songs and ballads from the British Isles. Starting in the 17th, 19th centuries, settlers from England, Scotland, and Ireland carried ballads, fiddle tunes, and modal melodies into the American South and Appalachia. These songs, narrative ballads, dance tunes, and modal airs, persisted in oral tradition, preserved by families and local communities. Many melodies and story motifs in early country trace directly to this ballad tradition. Gospel and sacred music. Hymns and sacred songs were central to community life and fed directly into country's devotional and moral subgenres. Shape note singing, camp meeting traditions, and hymnal melodies informed country's vocal styles and repertoire. Rural dance and fiddle traditions. Community dances, square dances, and fiddling contests preserved a repertoire of reels, breakdowns, and hornpipes that later became the basis for old-time records and eventually for bluegrass and country. Together, these influences created a living, hybrid musical practice in the rural South, Appalachia, Texas, and the Ozarks, a repertoire that included ballads, work songs, fiddle tunes, blues, gospel numbers, and dance music. From community music to commercial form, key technological and social inflection points. Now, a few crucial developments turned this local music into a national commercial genre. Field recordings and the recording industry's southern forays. Before the mid-1920s, much rural music was local and undocumented. That changed when record companies sent field units to record performers where they lived. The most famous of these was the 1927 Bristol Sessions, organized by Ralph Peer for the Victor Talking Machine Company. Over a few weeks in the summer of 1927, engineers recorded fiddles, string bands, spirituals, solo singers, and several pioneering acts. Two names that emerged from Bristol became foundational: Jimmie Rodgers and the Carter Family. The Bristol Sessions are often called the Big Bang of commercial country because they introduced these artists nationally and crystallized what the music could be in the marketplace. The Sessions gave a commercially consistent face to a wide range of regional styles and helped birth the industry category that would become country music. Radio and live broadcast culture. Radio multiplied country's reach in a way recordings alone could not. Programs like barn dances and variety shows broadcast rural music across states. The Grand Ole Opry, which began in 1925 as the WSM Barn Dance and took its name in 1927, became a national institution, a weekly live radio broadcast that showcased regional performers and drew audiences across dozens of states. Because of powerful Clear Channel AM signals, a single program could be heard by millions, creating both fame and a shared repertoire. The Opry helped make Nashville a hub and provided a performance circuit artists could tap to build careers. Commercial marketing and the creation of hillbilly and race record categories. Record companies in the 1920s and 1930s marketed recordings to demographic groups: race records for black audiences and hillbilly records for rural white audiences. This marketing divided the market on racial lines, which affected who got promoted within each genre. Over time, hillbilly became country and western, and then just country. While the segmentation helped define commercial categories, it also obscured the shared musical roots between black and white performers. Migration, urbanization, and new audiences. The Great Migration and other population shifts brought rural Southerners to cities and new regions. Country music traveled with them, adapted, and met new listeners. Post-World War II, the rise of honky-tonks and later the emergence of Nashville as a recording publishing center hardened country's industry infrastructure. Key artists, turning points, and subgenres. Early stars: Carter Family, Jimmie Rodgers, popularized the music nationally after Bristol. Bluegrass, Bill Monroe and others in the 1940s formalized high lonesome harmonies and fast virtuosic picking, drawing from old-time and jazz influences. Honky-tonk era. After World War II, honky-tonk performers like Hank Williams gave the music barroom immediacy and emotionally raw songwriting. Nashville sound. Producers added strings and smoother arrangements to create crossover hits that reached pop audiences. Outlaw movement. Artists like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings pushed back against tightly controlled Nashville production and revived a rougher authenticity. Contemporary crossovers. Since the 1990s and especially the 2000s, 2020s, country has blended with pop, rock, and hip-hop, leading to massive stadium acts and chart crossovers. The structural legacy. By the mid-20th century, Nashville's Music Row, with publishing companies, studios, and session musicians, formed a vertically integrated industry capable of sustaining songwriters, performers, and a global export mechanism for the sound. Institutions like the Grand Ole Opry, the Country Music Association, and the Country Music Hall of Fame have institutionalized both tradition and business. Part 4. Why is country music so special? Why is it loved by so many people? The unique beauty of country music. Now for the human side. What is it about country that creates such deep, long-lasting affection? 1. Story and relatability. Country excels at rendering ordinary lives into narrative art. The songs often speak plainly, no heavy metaphor, just scene and character, the bar at closing time, the woman on a porch, the road at dawn. This plain-spoken honesty creates intimacy. Listeners feel seen, they recognize their lives in the songs. That identification is powerful and persistent across generations. 2. Textural immediacy. There's a tactile, acoustic quality to classic country instruments, the scrape of a fiddle bow, the metallic twang of a pedal steel, the percussive banjo roll. Those sounds carry emotional cues, nostalgia, longing, joy. Instruments like the pedal steel can express melancholy in a single slide, and that expressiveness becomes part of the emotional vocabulary of the genre. The Country Music Hall of Fame's instrument histories show how those timbres are core to the country sound. 3. Community and ritual. Country is embedded in social ritual, honky-tonk nights, square dances, church sings, county fairs, and stadium summer tours. It is participatory music, sing-alongs, line dances, and shared songs that reinforce community. This social aspect makes country more than listening, it's doing. 4. Roots and continuity. Country often values lineage, songs passed from parent to child, covers of old standards, and reverence for predecessors. That thread of continuity gives the genre a sense of depth and authenticity. The Carter Family and other early acts are still touchstones, their repertory and styles are referenced or revived decades later, and that continuity matters to fans who value tradition. 5. Capacity for emotional directness. Country can be brutally direct without being sophomoric. Consider a classic country heartbreak song. It doesn't always need clever metaphor, a plain line about a truck leaving town or a porch light left on can cut straight to feeling. That directness is both comforting and cathartic. 6. Adaptive but rooted. Country's ability to evolve without losing a core identity is unique. It can absorb pop hooks, rock energy, or hip-hop rhythms while retaining story-based songwriting and the signature timbres that signpost country to listeners. This flexibility lets the genre reach younger and broader audiences while keeping an older, devoted base. 7. Cultural symbolism. Country has become a symbol of regional identity and sometimes political or cultural values. Whether one embraces or critiques that symbolism, it gives the music social meaning beyond melody and lyrics, a soundtrack to weddings, funerals, and civic rituals. That social embeddedness keeps country relevant across many life moments. A note on inclusivity and future directions. In recent years, conversations about country's history have grown more public. Artists and scholars have highlighted the important Black and Latinx contributions to the music, and contemporary artists of diverse backgrounds are reshaping the genre's boundaries. As the genre's audience diversifies and the industry adapts, country's story continues to expand while still leveraging the elements that make it distinct: story, voice, and a specific sonic palette. Closing, what to listen for, a short practical guide. If you want to hear these ideas in action, try listening in this order. Early Roots, Carter Family Recordings and Jimmie Rodgers. Bluegrass, Bill Monroe. Honky Tonk, Hank Williams. Nashville Sound Crossover, Patsy Cline. Outlaw, Willie Nelson Waylon Jennings. Modern, contemporary country pop and genre-blending artists, listen for how production and genre bending continue to expand the palette. Final reflections. Country music matters because it is a living conversation between past and present, a continuing way for people to tell small, human stories with musical tools that have traveled across oceans and centuries. Its instruments carry memory, its songs speak in the plain language of everyday life, its structures, the Opry, Music Row, publishing houses, turned local practice into an industry that sustains artists and communities. When you listen closely, country reveals both intimate personal tales and the broader migrations, encounters, and historical currents that shaped modern America.